Welcome back after 2 years to the most inconsistent podcast on YouTube with myself, Paul, and my co-host,
Ross.
Today we will be talking about what, Ross?
We will be talking about the football and last season. Of course, we've been through 2.5 Premier League seasons since the last one, so we'll be talking about last year specifically, how that kind of fared, how it went, some surprises maybe that we didn't expect, both in England and Scotland, and then we'll finish that off and talk about this year, kind of what's happened so far this year. We're on the international break, so we'll be talking about, obviously, Scotland national team as well, currently the best team in Europe. Oh my God. And like I say, we'll just be breaking it all down, giving our opinions, and yeah, we'll be back hopefully more consistently this year. With a new backdrop, very snazzy backdrop, I think. Quite creative.
Obviously, because this is the first podcast on the new kind of setup, this is the first time using the mics, so we do not know if it's going to be good or not. So if you are watching this and you give us any tips, it'd be much appreciated. Right, will you start us off?
We will. So last year, like I say, we were, I think, witness to a very strange Premier League season in many ways, both at the top half and the bottom half. We'll start at the top, and we'll start with this man, breaking all kinds of records, signing for Man City last year, taking them to the first domestic treble since 1999, when the bigger team in Manchester won it in 1999. Obviously, Paul, being a Manchester City fan, what was your take on the season as a whole?
As a whole, I honestly think it wasn't the best season, because obviously Arsenal were leading the way by a lot from, I would say, 3/4 of. I think Arsenal leaded the league for the longest time out of the history of the league,
and didn't win it as well. I think that's to note. They were top for the majority and didn't win it. A bottle job, it has to be said.
So I think Arsenal kind of let us away with it. So the league itself, I think City, obviously Haaland, he scored about 50, 53
all
domestic goals,
mid-50s, but I think in the league it was 36, was it?
It's just like something like that. He broke the record. He's the most goal scoring in a season now, which is unbelievable for it to be his first season, which is ridiculous. But the season was a bit mid. Champions League, they had a fantastic run.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be said, I think, I hate to say it, but based on the run they had, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and quite a tough group as well, Dortmund as well, so a very tough run, has to be said.
I was worried about the Real Madrid game.
I think we all were.
I think I was really worried. I honestly thought we were gonna lose, because I personally think, especially now, Real Madrid is the best team in Europe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, what is it? They've won the most Champions Leagues 4 years in a row, and have made good sides, and the likes of Liverpool in the past, Man City in the past, even PSG look very basic. That's two voice cracks now, and it's starting to bug me. They've made them look very basic, but last year, I think Man City made them look very average and pumped them at the Etihad, I'm sure. It was a draw at the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
But at Etihad, they just ran riot.
I think, was that the draw where, the first half, it was Man City, leading, they should have won the first half, but Real Madrid scored, and then second half,
Vinicius Junior scored
other way.
Banger.
Yeah, both, it was,
and then De Bruyne
and De Bruyne, both bangers, and then the second leg, it was all City, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4-1 I think it was, or maybe 4-0. I can't actually remember off the top of my head, but it was a pumping on one end. But
and then the final,
the worst game of football.
I will admit, I do not think City should have won it.
I don't,
especially with the first half. I think it was Ederson, or was it Ruben Diaz passed it
to Martinez,
and he just bottled it.
Yeah,
that first half was one of the worst halves I've seen City play in a long while. But
I don't think it was the whole game. Man City were game was the best chance of Manchester City's best chance of the game came from their goal. Not Real Madrid, sorry. Inter Milan had so many chances. Lukaku
Yeah.
came on, and I wouldn't say lost Inter Milan the game, but he had the chances to definitely make it a much more exciting game because he had 2 sitters that he's missed. Ederson's pulled off, I would say, an average save, but everyone's going on about how good a save it is, even though it's just hit him.
I think
that
the
save
is a
was
fantastic
class.
save because of the setting.
Yeah, because of the occasion.
If that was in the Carabao Cup, no one cares.
Yeah, no, exactly. But then obviously secured the Champions League, but week before that beat Man United in the FA Cup final again in what I would say was a very poor game.
We went up in what 13
No,
seconds.
yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like an unbelievable goal for Gundogan. Man United got back in the game through a penalty that again was very, very dubious on the day, but it's a Stonewall penalty. I'm not having anyone say that wasn't, because it was. 1-1. An even game again, and then Man City have gone and scored another. A good hit for Gundogan, but very poor goalkeeping. So, yeah, obviously that secured City the treble, and then
Gundogan and Rodri were the main reasons we won those trophies.
Yeah,
and
100%.
we've lost Gundogan.
Yeah,
all because of City just not giving him the contract that he wanted as soon as he wanted.
Gundogan is the definition of like a big game player. Last year, anyway.
Now it's Rodri.
Yeah,
Rodri is
I don't like him
clutch player.
Just because he's Spanish, and obviously the Spain against Scotland game, I hate him, but a baller, just an absolute baller.
Obviously, I love him. Obviously, against Scotland, I do not like him, but for City, he is the most important City player right now. More important than Haaland.
Yeah, oh no, 100%.
Even with all his goals, if Haaland wasn't in the team last season, we still would have won the league. We would still have goals because Alvarez was still
Mahrez,
he
Alvarez,
still is
Gundogan.
amazing. Mahrez when we had him, Gundogan, as he said, Rodri, Stones playing CDM, fucking
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah,
he was one of the best CDMs that's last season, and he only played CDM for.
Mate, he's
the
the best
latter
CDM
half.
last season, and he is a centre back. That
Aye.
proves how good he played. That he's actually making actual centre midfielders look average. But obviously, then the rest of the top 3 was made up of Arsenal, who, like we said, has to be said, bottled the league. Had nothing to worry about European football wise. Obviously, without the FA Cup early doors and the Carabao Cup early doors, so they literally just had the league to focus on. Flying, I think we're 11, 12 points clear at one point. And then Man City just came, like they always do at the end of the season, came back absolutely flying. Beat Arsenal twice, I think 7-2 overall across 2 games. And just then obviously Arsenal bottled it big time. They couldn't lose to Forest or else City won the league. Nottingham Forest, and they got beat. So that just sums Arsenal's season up, I think. So obviously another another good season for Arsenal, but could have been done a lot better if they'd finished the job. And then I think the most surprise package last year was Newcastle back in the Champions League, which is good to see. You've seen the group, and how we'll do is another story. But
Yeah,
it was great to see a team other than the likes of Spurs, Chelsea,
obviously.
and United dominate the top 4 spots. So it was nice to see Newcastle in there, and I think it was thoroughly deserved.
Well, you can obviously say it is because of the money, because
I don't think
that's
it
what
is.
people. No, I don't think it is either. But a lot of people will say it's because of the money, like how they said
100%.
City's success is all the money.
Yeah,
Some of it's the money, not all of it.
City is a definition of money. Money has won them. The money, they wouldn't have bought Haaland. They wouldn't have bought in half the players that they've brought in and beaten other teams to the signings. For example, somebody goes in for an average bid for, say, Declan Rice, for example. I know he didn't go to Man City, but then Arsenal go for another bid, and then City go another bid. So it's like, Man City are just money. They see a good player, and they bid well over the odds for them.
Yeah,
that's just annoying.
They do pay over the top for players, but like City's success, I mean, over their new history, I'm saying, is started in like 2010. They didn't win the league as soon as they got the money.
True.
They won it in 2012, and that, with an amazing win. That's going to live with me for most of the match.
Still haunts me that, but
That's a great one. But City's Newcastle. Sorry, they done very well last season.
yeah.
This season,
I've not been impressed with them, but this season will be a topic later on. Obviously, we'll go down to the wrong end of the table, the bottom end, and I think one big major surprise in that, and I think actually rattled a lot of people, was Leicester going down, finishing 18th, former Premier League champions
rattled
against
me.
all odds. former Champions League quarter-finalists, former FA Cup winners, Community Shield winners, now in the Championship. I think that is it's mental, and it is devastating because Leicester were, on their day, an unbelievable team to watch.
I loved watching Leicester.
But
I loved Jamie Vardy, and I loved just watching the team play.
yeah,
And I love the King Power. I want to go, but I feel like the atmosphere would be amazing.
oh, 100%. Also,
And to have that in the Championship is just devastating. All because of blimmin' Doucouré just for his last game of the season just turning into prime Lionel Messi and just demoting relegating Leicester.
yeah,
It is a joke.
it was good to see that the Premier League went down to the last day, and I'm sure I speak for maybe a lot of people here when I say I was really wanting Everton to go down. They're not a Premier League side. They're full of a lot of hateable characters, or at that point they were. And I think right now they're the weakest Premier League team I've seen in a while. It's got to be said.
I also really want to see that big, massive new stadium in the Championship.
In the Championship, I know.
That'd be amazing.
I know. Also, the other two spots, Leeds and Southampton. Again, Southampton maybe a surprise one. A well-known, steady Premier League side. Also had that season under Poch where they finished, I think it was top 6 or top 7. A great team to watch on their day as well, but now again in the Championship, and it's got to be said, they're falling apart.
I think Southampton are like Fulham.
I was going to say, a yo-yo team, I think, in the future.
Yeah, the yo-yo team. They're neither Championship, Premier League. They're in the middle.
Yeah.
Always get promoted to the Championship, always get relegated.
Just quickly before we're going to further, I'm so sorry for all the voice cracks. I don't know what's going on. It's annoying me. And then Leeds, I think, again, a very hateable bunch of players, but again, been very, very steady in the last few years. Had a few very good players over the last couple of years in the league, and just from nowhere, again, fell apart. Started off the season well, actually. That's the thing. Like, I remember watching a game, I think it was a Sunday, they played Chelsea at home, and they absolutely battered them for the whole 90 minutes. They pumped them, battered them, and Leeds ended up just falling apart, shipping goal after goal after goal, scoring none. And again, they've lost pretty much the core of their team, and they're struggling in the Championship again this season. So whether they'll come back up or not is a different story.
Well, it's funny you say about Leeds and Chelsea. Obviously, Leeds beating Chelsea because last season they completely fell apart and finished 12th.
Yeah, Chelsea, that's another very surprise thing. It's like you would normally associate, this is what I mean by a weird season, you normally associate the likes of, Brighton, Brentford, Aston Villa being down in the kind of 10th, 11th, 12th spot. But last year was the complete opposite. Chelsea
was a big shock.
Shocking. 3 managers in the season, Tuchel, Lampard and Graham Potter, obviously. What happened, we don't know. Spent all this money on players that really shouldn't have been anywhere near this level. Mudryk, that Madueke, whatever his name is. Wesley Fofana was a good sign until he got injured. But Chelsea I don't even know. I think that many players not been able to gel them in time. I don't know. There's many excuses it could be, but for a club like Chelsea to be sitting 12th is shocking. And yeah, it was a massive indication to me that there is a lot of work to do, and it's a massive example of spending money in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
they're still spending like ungodly amount of money.
Hit £1 billion, I think, when they signed Casado. That was their £1 billion in the last 2 years that they've spent on players, and that's just crazy.
That's some brilliant marketing from Brighton.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's been terrible. And Brighton got all that money.
Yeah.
It's been great.
But obviously that ties in perfectly with Brighton. A big surprise package last year. You'd think we're losing Trossard midway through the season, losing Potter midway through the season. People probably seen them being down in the bottom end, but what was it, 6th?
They done, sixth.
6th place, European football, probably the best football inside, or one of in the league.
A World Cup winner in their team.
Yeah, it's mental. Who's now not there, but last year was a pivotal part in their success. Mitoma. Honestly, I'm not going to lie, I don't know where he came from. There was just a game where
I think
who's this guy?
Yeah, he was just spawned in. Like, no one was watching Brighton, and then one day Brighton just appeared with this Japanese bloke who just started.
Baller.
He was one of the best players last season.
Unbelievable.
And I think he will be one of the best players this season as well, because
100%.
Brighton are
you look at him,
still, even with Brighton selling all those players, they've still kept that their level of skill.
Yeah, the Brighton are, I think, again, you look at the manager, came in, no one really knew much about him. I think his first game was a 3-3 draw at Anfield, and people were like, could be alright. Now look at them, 6th place. Again, like I say, playing out from the back, they've been classed as one of the best footballing sides in Europe at the minute, which you look at them playing, you can't disagree. You know, like Danny Welbeck, made of chocolate at times. You know, any injury, any slight injury would keep him out for weeks, months at his previous clubs. Now he's a starter every week. Evan Ferguson looks to be a baller, looks set to be an absolute key part in Brighton's machine this year.
After his hat-trick at the weekend.
Yeah. I think it's just, I think Brighton are really going to be a steady side. Villa as well, it's got to mention, you know.
Villa getting, what, conference?
Sacking Gerrard, which was the right decision. 17th, 18th when Emery took over. And now, I think I seen a stat the other day that they've picked up the second most points in the 2023 calendar year behind Man City under Unai Emery. And now, again, they've went from being, 2 years ago, a goal away from relegation, to now being 7th and the favourites to win the Conference League. Again, a massive indication that money is not everything in football. Villa are a fantastic side. Emery is a known winner, serial winner in football. Europa League. And obviously was at Arsenal as well. Didn't win anything at Arsenal, but again,
that's Arsenal.
You know, a very, very good, experienced manager that is making Villa play in a way that's making them very difficult to beat. So I think it'll be interesting this year with those kind of teams. And I think the last one that's maybe worth mentioning is Liverpool 5th. You know, a serial Champions League side every season. You know, 3 finals in 4 years. And then obviously last year lost Mane, and we're having a very, very poor season. And I think one certain result at Anfield against another team that play in red, which we won't mention, kind of kick-started their fights. I don't think many folks seen them get in Europe because it was between them, Brighton, Spurs and Villa at one point for one spot. So I think Liverpool fans were a bit nervous for any form of European football, but managed to scrape Europa League, beat United 7-0 at Anfield, which was mental.
I think losing Sadio Mane was a big part of them finishing 5th.
Oh, 100%.
Because they tried to replace him with Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, and obviously there's a couple of clubs like City and Liverpool that when you make a big signing, they'd never do well in the first season, bar Haaland, and then they do well for the rest of the seasons. Like when City signed Sterling for 70 mil back in 2016 or something,
15-16,
I was not happy with that signing, so I didn't like him, and he was terrible, I think, the first season, and then he started becoming a favourite of City.
Sterling was good. On his day, it was unbeatable.
Now he's a normal Chelsea player.
I'd say. But has his good days. Obviously, Luton another week, unplayable, but I think Sterling's, you know, not best years, but I think the hype of Sterling becoming, you know, a big player for England is gone now. I think he's miles off it. There's so many players ahead of him now.
He had a lot more potential, but like injuries and other wingers that City had kind of held him back. Because I he was kind of fighting for his place with Sané, and Mahrez, and Foden for a bit as well. He just wasn't sometimes getting in the starting 11. So his form just kept dropping, and then he'd get injured, his form would drop more. And then he would go to Chelsea. And
I feel like it was a good signing for Chelsea, because obviously they lost a couple of players at that point. And Havertz was, you know, their first choice striker at that point. So I think they were bringing him in with the purpose of playing him up front. And it was just a bit of a disaster, if I'm honest. But Chelsea's season as a whole was disastrous, so we can't just talk about him. Yeah. And I think as well, just one final thing as well in England was the other, obviously Europa League, you know, nothing to do with England, but also West Ham had a very poor season in the Premier League. 14th, took them to the last few weeks to seal their Premier League survival, and then go and win the Conference League, which I thought was brilliant. David Moyes, Scottish manager, a well-known, very, very experienced English Premier League manager, obviously Scottish as well, and West Ham done bits in Europe.
I feel like they just knew they weren't getting anywhere in the Prem. All they had to do was survive, and then once they knew they were going to survive, they would just put all the focus into Europa. And with Jared Bowen, just basically taking them all the way to victory.
I think they had too high expectations because obviously the season before they were, sniffing about Europe the whole year, and that's how they got Conference League because they finished seventh. So I think going into the season, finishing seventh year before, everyone's expecting them to do it again.
Yeah.
So whether it was just, people were expecting it and they didn't deliver, or whether it was because of the European games that kind of affected their Premier League season, because obviously teams can suffer from the European side as well. Their form can get taken to the Premier League and they can become tired. So that potentially played a part. But I guess West Ham again, it's a different story this year, which we'll get into. So I think that's pretty much English Premier League covered. Like I said, very interesting season on a few different fronts. So hopefully as equally as exciting season this year, and it's not just, like I say, the one team running away with it, and the expected three teams getting the bottom three. So
one horse race.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll move on to Scotland, the Scottish Premiership. I think
not much to say here.
Celtic winning the league, expected. Rangers coming second, expected. The Old Firm is always going to dominate Scottish football, I think, for many years.
Third, fourth, and fifth they just always like alternate. It can either be Aberdeen, Hearts, or Hibs.
Yeah,
any one of those teams can finish at any one of those places.
I think us as Hearts fans, I think me especially, but watching Hearts nearly every single week, watching them at the start of the season, thinking we could actually get third again here. We could maybe even push Rangers. That was my take at the start of the season, and then we beat Hibs in the Scottish Cup 3-0 at Easter Road. Then we beat them in the league, flying 11 points clear ahead of Aberdeen. Everyone's Robert Snodgrass pulling the strings for Hearts, Josh Ginnelly unplayable, Lawrence Shankland banging them in every week, absolutely no issues, and then from nowhere we're scraping fifth. Well, not fifth, but it's between us and Hibs on the last day of the season for fourth and fifth. And it's where did it go wrong? Robbie Nielsen can get the blame, but I think there's a lot more going on than just the manager.
I think now, obviously, looking at the games that they've been playing since Robbie Nielsen, I do honestly think it wasn't Robbie Nielsen's fault.
No,
I think it was a lot about players and maybe the coaching staff as well. Because at the minute, I've said it multiple times, obviously not on the podcast, but I don't like Stephen Naismith and all the coaching staff taking control of Hearts, and I felt like we needed a proper manager. And the fact that we went a good 4 or 5 months without a manager. There
was a few. Obviously, when Nielsen was sacked, I think the usual Stevie Robinson, Derek McInnes was thrown about. I think Chris Wilder was even in the mix at one point, and then we appointed the Hearts B team manager, which to me at the time was a very questionable decision. And see that he was proving me wrong. There was games where I'm like, do you know what, this could actually work, and we were actually looking all right. But I think this season, again, which we'll get into, is just looking grim, which I didn't think after the first game of the season, but it was the opposite way for us, which confuses me as well, because we had Europe, but that's when we were playing well in the league. We were absolutely cruising the league with Europe. We had a hard group. We knew we weren't going to do well. We had Fiorentina, who eventually got to the final. We had obviously Istanbul, who again are one of the best teams in their league, and we had a team from Riga, which again was obviously a comfortable victory both times. But we had Europe, but we were still performing on the Sunday, so it was also a way for us when we had no Europe and nothing to focus on. We played worse. And I just don't understand it. But
I don't understand, because when you don't have another cup to play for, I know we had the Scottish Cup, but when you don't have any of that, your main focus has to be on the league.
Yeah.
And Hearts should be pushing for third.
Because when you're third, you're guaranteed European football either way. If you win your playoff game, you go into the Europa League. If you lose your playoff game, you go into the Conference League. That's where Hearts should be. Outside the Old Firm, we've got the strongest squad by a country mile. We've got the strongest squad in every department. Craig Gordon getting injured last year played a massive part as well, but Xander Clark came in, and I don't think we'll get a better number 2 in the country.
No.
St Johnson's number 1, double cup winner, comes to Hearts, sits on the bench every week, and then Craig Gordon gets injured. Xander Clark comes in, and I think Gordon will find it very hard to come. I think he'll come back eventually and get his farewell, but Xander Clark is probably Hearts number 1 for years to come.
Scotland's number 1 now as well. Yeah. Gordon's not it.
Well, he was before Angus Gunn changed. But
another point,
Xander Clark is very, very a very strong goalkeeper, and I've been very impressed with how he's come in and just not made the goalkeeping department look any weaker. Because sometimes the number 2 can be a bit not inexperienced, but number 2 can be a bit ropey. But I think Xander Clark's come in, and he was probably just as important as Shankland's goals last year in terms of keeping the ball out of the net. Some of the saves he was making. I remember a double one against Hibs. I think it was at 1-0. He made an unbelievable double save and obviously went on and won the game 3-0. So you can say, that save potentially won Hearts that game. But I think Xander Clark's been brilliant. But what happens with Gordon, we don't know. I think it'll be sad to see him break his leg and not come back from it. But hopefully he can, get a farewell because he deserves it. The year Hearts got from the Championship, and even the year last year when he became third, he was phenomenal. 40-year-old, and he's just still one of the best goalkeepers in the country. It's mental.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers obviously last season. Again, pretty poor all round. So we'll go into this year. Obviously, when 3 teams go down, 3 teams come up. And last year we had Burnley back in the Prem, which was obviously a good thing. Vincent Kompany flying as a manager, making Burnley play some fantastic football in the Championship, dominated the league. Also, Luton Town, a very maybe surprising one given they're not exactly the biggest club, but good to see them in the Premier League. And Sheffield United as well. It's not usually, it's normally your Norwiches and stuff like that come up every year, but it was nice to see a couple of different teams. Middlesbrough obviously in the mix, Coventry in the mix as well, Sunderland as well. It was, again, a good Championship season last year. It was nice to see, again, different teams not dominating it, but those are 3 that came up. So, of course, as you do at the start of every season, now these predictions, I need to note, they're a bit far off, but they were made before a ball was kicked. Before any form of football was played this season, this is where the predictions were made. So,
if we could change it, we obviously would.
Yeah,
we'll talk about what changes we could make after we've done
where the current league is now. Obviously, we're only 4 games in, but there is some very, very, very woeful looking predictions that's going to be at the end of the season. So we'll kind of just go through them. We'll not go through the whole table. We'll go through maybe the bottom 3 in the European spots, and then maybe the odd team kind of in between. But I don't see kind of anything relevant being, I don't see us going through the middle sort. So the bottom 3, I think we've got very similar but different orders. So I've gone Luton bottom. I think it's inevitable. They've not got a point yet this season. Don't get me wrong, they've played all right. Maybe we're robbed of a point against West Ham last week, but I don't think Luton will survive. I don't think anyone can see them surviving. I think this could be a shout for the worst Premier League points tally after Derby County. I think they got 11, and I can see this being a Luton Town getting worse than that because I just don't think they're a Premier League side. They've not got any quality players on their side, so I think that's inevitable.
I would agree with it being inevitable going down, but I don't think it's going to be the worst season. I think they'll pick up a few points to like Bournemouth or like Wolves or Everton or something like that. But I don't think they'll have like a completely woeful season. I think the bottom 2 or 3, they're going to be very, very close on points.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Who have you gone bottom?
So I've got Sheffield United bottom. Just honestly, Matt, I've got obviously Luton 19th as well. You could swap. Well, obviously before this, I would have swapped either of them. Obviously, Sheffield are looking a bit. They're looking okay.
Right. Yeah,
they're looking okay. Right, they played well against City, which was unexpected. So they might finish higher, but I've got them 20th. Luton 19th.
I've got Sheffield United 19th. That's what I mean. Sort them about. I just agree with what you're saying. I think City didn't struggle against Sheffield United. I think that'd be a bit of a stretch, but Sheffield United did make life very hard for Man City. I think Man City dominated the game, possession, chances, but Sheffield United were just a very, very difficult side to beat. And also Sheffield United, the goal they scored was actually brilliant. To go 1-1, I even said, I think it's just one of them where when Man City are not winning against a team lower down, they're never expected to keep it that for long. And also, I think the fact that Roger went and scored like 2 minutes after Sheffield United equalised sums that up. But I think it's inevitable that Sheffield United and Luton will be occupying the bottom 2 spots. Whether it's Sheffield 19th, Luton 20th, or Luton 19th, Sheffield 20th, I don't know. But I think they will be the bottom 2 spots. Now, I think 18th could be one of a few. Who have you gone for?
I've went for Everton just because I don't like them. After they relegated Leicester, I do not like Everton. I don't like Doucouré. I hate how Sean Dyche is at Everton because I love Sean Dyche. I loved him at Burnley.
Yeah,
obviously that's when we started watching Burnley. But the fact that he's at Everton, it's a bittersweet because I want them to go down, but I don't want Sean Dyche in the Championship.
Brexit ball going on at Goodison Park. I think like we said, Everton are full of very hateable characters. Somehow, still number one for his country, John Pickford. I don't know how hateable, just very annoying. I think obviously when he was there, not there anymore, but Anthony Gordon was again somebody that I just wanted to pick up and throw about. Just a very, very annoying character. And like I say, I just don't think Everton are cut out for the Premier League anymore. I think they've got, the wrong way playing. With how teams are evolving nowadays, I don't think Everton have the right style of play to survive the Premier League anymore. Love Sean Dyche, like Paul said, brilliant manager, love him, brilliant manager, but just think, at Everton he's probably going to end up like he did at Burnley, probably struggle a bit, maybe get a few decent results, but I think Everton will be in very deep trouble.
If they get relegated, Sean Dyche is out the door.
I think he'll be out the door before that, I think, but yeah, I say I see trouble for Everton, and I've got them 14th, so
14th?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I don't know you had them that high.
Yeah, I didn't realise that either. I thought I had them 16th, but I've got them 14th. I don't know why. I thought I would maybe see Calvert-Lewin, come in, and that was a massive miss for Everton last year. How much he was injured. They had no striker. Demarai Gray up front, I just think wasn't the answer. I've got Wolves 18th. I don't know.
I had Wolves quite low. I had them 16th because obviously I've been hearing that they had problems behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to be quite low. Obviously, I'm going to say they're playing all right this season. I know they are. What are they? I've got the table here. They are 15th at the minute. So I'm one off. They are playing all right, I think. But it's just the teams that they're playing are either better or...
I guess my take on Wolves is last year they struggled massively. They could not put the ball in the back of the net. I think they scored the least goals last year. And they've lost Raul Jimenez, and they've lost Adama Traore, and they've lost Ruben Neves. The year that Wolves had their, not success, but, got to latter stages of the FA Cup, latter stages of Europe, and finished in the top, kind of 7-8. That was their three best players, and Matt Doherty as well. They've lost... Matt Doherty's obviously back. He moved away, but he's back now. But Neves was the strings in the Wolves team. Anything that was done well by Wolves on the pitch was always through Neves and his creativity and his presence in the middle of the park. Traore, honestly, one of the strongest, quickest players you'll ever meet. But
strongest and quickest, but he wasn't actually the best player there. Like he was a very mid.
Yeah, he wasn't getting a game towards the end of his time there, obviously, because you had Pedence, Pedro Neto and stuff. But I just think Wolves will be. Don't get me wrong, first game of the season against United, how United beat them, I don't know. But I think Wolves will be all right. I just think I look at they've not done much business in terms of bringing people in. Obviously, Gary O'Neill done a very good job with Bournemouth last year, so that might be the reason why they stay up. Everyone wrote Bournemouth off after a 9-0 loss against Liverpool and Scott Parker getting sacked, but fair play, O'Neill, he turned them round. So can I do the same with Wolves? I'm not convinced.
I think Wolves and Everton are very... they're very close in how they play and how they feel.
Yeah.
They're kind of similar.
Well, they played each other, didn't they? I think Wolves beat them, so.
Very similar teams, I'd say.
I think the bottom three could be very close. Like I say, I think I've got Bournemouth 17th. I think they could be.
I've got Bournemouth 17th
down there,
as well.
And even Nottingham Forest. But I mean, not without going into much detail about them. Nottingham Forest have looked pretty decent so far, I would say.
Forest this season I think could finish mid-table. I don't think the top 10. I would say 11th or 12th maybe, but because
a few massive signings for them as well. I think Elanga.
What's his name? I can't say his name.
He's not a signing though. He was there last year, but he's like a new signing with the way he's playing.
Yeah, he's playing. That's what I was saying earlier about City and Liverpool. It's like he gets a very mid first season, and then the second season he's doing well. Well, he is. We're only 4 games in, but he is playing very well.
I think as well. I know he's not there anymore, but I'll never ever understand how Nottingham Forest managed to land Keylor Navas the second part of last season. He saved them, but. I think Forest have looked very strong. I mean, obviously they've just lost Brennan Johnson, who, to be fair, I wasn't convinced. But I mean, like I said, they've brought in Elanga, Awione, Serge Aurier seems to be a new man at Nottingham Forest, so I think they'll be all right. But again, all these predictions were made before the ball was kicked, so I think they might be way off. But if we're like I say, as Paul said, the most inconsistent podcast on YouTube. If we are still here at the end of the season, we'll see how
We'll go
off
back
some of these
over
are.
Yeah,
I
because
think-
obviously if we could change it now, like I've got Burnley before this, I had Burnley at 11th,
I've got them 10th.
but now watching them and looking at what their running games has been and what it's going
They've
to
been
be,
shafted big time.
they're going. I think they might finish very close to the bottom, which I'm sad about because obviously I love Vincent Kompany because he's City legend, but he's also been a very good manager. He was bringing a new style of play to Burnley last season into the Championship by storm.
Definitely. I think obviously there was a lot of talk about Kompany, being the new, what's the word, like the breath of fresh air in the Premier League as such. Dyche was a good manager for Burnley, but again, like I said about Everton, his style of play is just not the kind of style of play you need to survive in the Premier League. Kompany's got them playing. He's got them pressing high. Against City first game of the season, the amount of times Burnley got in one-on-one or at least in the final third because they pressed high and put pressure on the back line is something that's massive because, defenders, I speak for, like the likes of Man City that game, but when you press a defender, you're going to make a mistake. So Burnley are right on them. But, they've had a tough run, like say Tottenham, City and Villa. The three hardest games based on the current, how the league's looking. Probably the three toughest games you don't want. Obviously, they're supposed to have Luton. Could have been a win, but obviously with the new stadium and stuff. But you read out their run later on. They've got, who did you say they've got? Forest next, then Chelsea, Arsenal,
and then they've got Bournemouth. I think someone else, and then they've got
United. They've got United in there as well.
It's
a very tough run.
They don't really have a run of like easy games and then hard games, where like some other teams do. But it's just that it's going to be a hard season for Burnley.
I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter as well about Kompany's team selections, which I agree with. You've got, a player in the EFL team this season last year, Josh Brownhill, sitting on the bench. Brownhill was even good when he played in the Premier League for them. He was class. Yeah. Last year was brilliant for them. Scored loads of goals, loads of assists, and was, again, I think he was their captain or vice captain last year. Brownhill was brilliant. Obviously, that's Zeraudi. Obviously, he's suspended, but he didn't start the first game of the season either. So maybe you could question Kompany's, like I say, team selections. But yeah, I agree. I think they'll have a tough season and potentially could be the new, Norwich coming up and then going straight back down again. I hope not. Like I say, I've got a soft spot for them. But
I think the best thing Burnley have done this season is their signing announcements on like Instagram and all that. They're the best ones I've seen, but it's the only good thing they've done this season.
Talking about signings again, I just don't think they've signed anyone good enough.
No,
like that. I know he was last year, but Obafemi came from Swansea, not a Premier League striker. Striker, sorry. That Xander Berge played for Sheffield United in the Premier League, but didn't really help them survive. So again, you question that. James Trafford, again, not a Premier League experienced goalkeeper. Done well at the Euros. The final saved England, and unfortunately England won the game. But he saved a penalty and he made a double save like 2 minutes later as well. So you could say a good goalkeeper, but is he Premier League quality? Not convinced.
They're very Burnley players, though.
Yeah, no.
They're not Premier League players, they're Burnley players.
Yeah.
But other than that, if we go to the top half of the table, obviously we'll start from, say, 6th, right? The top. Well, no, we can go from, because it's the new Champions League format next season.
We'll go from 8th.
We'll go from 8th
because the way it's changing,
that's conference, I think. So 8th, I had Villa.
All right.
So obviously, but if they win the conference, then surely I think 9th will get conference. No,
I don't know. I think it depends. There's a way it works, and I probably should have looked at it before, but because I thought because City won the Champions League, the FA Cup, and the league last year, I thought that would have affected somebody going to the Champions League, but it doesn't because of the way it works, and I don't know what it is. I think if it's a team obviously outside the top 4 wins a tournament, for example Leicester getting into Europe, even though they didn't finish in European spots because they won the FA Cup that year, they got into Europe. So I think it's something along those lines, but yeah, no, it's not. I don't think that matters now. And like I say, there is a rule behind it, but I'm not sure. But 8th, I think this could be quite an off one based on how they're playing. I've got Tottenham, Big Ange ball.
Yeah,
but fair play to them. They've lost Kane, which is enough to say Spurs will struggle. You've lost potentially 25, 30 goals. You've lost potentially one of the best English strikers that's been about, went to Bayern Munich. Very interesting signing. But they lost, obviously, Lewandowski and Mane. Mane went to Bayern Munich. So, fair play to him. He wants a new challenge. I think
he went to Saudi. He was at Bayern.
What did I say?
You said Mane went to Bayern.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, Mane went to Saudi because...
For the money. He's going to build the next New York City in Africa.
And then obviously Kane going there. I think he's done it right so far. But they've brought in they've brought in interesting signings, but James Maddison, they've brought in, which is a phenomenal
James Maddison,
signing.
I think
I'd say probably one of the signings of the season.
One of the signings of the season so far, yeah. Obviously, we thought Spurs were going to really struggle because Kane left. Because I put them 7th, because I thought they had Son, Richarlison, and then Kulusevski, which I don't like Richarlison, and Kulusevski I don't rate. Son I love, but this start of the season they are one of the best teams at the minute. They won 5-1 obviously against Burnley, but
5-2.
5-2. Sorry. They played.
Pumped them.
They played very well. Son got hat trick. That was one of the 3 hat tricks at the weekend. Obviously, Haaland and Ferguson.
Shock Haaland, yeah. Shock.
The robot that he is.
Couldn't score a penalty against Sheffield United though.
Shut
up. Say that United will probably get beat off Sheffield United. So.
But yeah, I think Spurs. Now, if I could change the predictions, because they've not, what I was saying earlier to Ross off camera was that I think Spurs might actually go into Champions League spot, maybe 4th or 5th, because the other teams that are up there, they've obviously got Europe to think about. They're going to be playing more games, whereas Spurs aren't going to be playing any.
They've got nothing. They've just went out the EFL Cup last week as well, so they've only got the FA Cup and League. That's it.
And if you've got those two, obviously Spurs can't win a trophy for the life of them. So this might be their best chance, and they're going to really dig for it. And if they're not thinking about anything, they could think about the Prem or think about Champions League at least, and then try and go for the FA Cup to finally get a trophy other than the Audi Cup in their trophy cabinet.
See, Tottenham for me, it's a frustrating one and it's a strange one because Ange has gone from being the manager of the best team in the country. So he's went from being manager of Celtic, winning them the treble, and just making Celtic probably the strongest they've looked even in the Rodgers era. If you can hear a noise, there is 2 cats fighting in that corner, so you'll probably see them kicking about somewhere. But yeah, Ange has gone from being the manager of the best team in the country and outplaying teams every single week to going to Tottenham, a team that have fallen off it massively. Under Poch, they were always in the top 4, even got to a Champions League final, but recently they've been a very, very bang average team. They've got some cracking results. They've done something that teams like United and Liverpool can't even do, beat City at the Etihad. They've managed to grind out some unbelievable results. But I think Ange will be alright now. See, I know we're only 4 games in and it's very early days to say what you expect at the end of the season, but I just can see Ange, his style of play and the way he's got Spurs playing so far.
Harry Kane would not fit in that team.
No.
Harry Kane would have if Harry Kane stayed, then Spurs would have finished low, or they will finish lower.
And it's strange that we say that because Kane has been the reason Spurs have finished where they have in the last few years, but I just think the way Ange has got his teams playing, I think there is a few players that potentially wouldn't have got anywhere near it. But again, they lost Lloris and they've signed some Italian keeper I've never heard of, but he's looked brilliant.
And Christian Romero this season,
he looks good.
He is he's so far one of the best defenders. So if he keeps this up, he's going in the team of the season.
This Udogie guy as well. Who is he? Where did he come from? He's been
he's been class. He's popped out of nowhere.
But
it's like Udogie and Romero are the best partnership so far this season, and I think they will be for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think Spurs will be fine, and I hate to say it because I hate them, but I think they'll be fine. I think I've gone Villa 7th. This is another one we've got the opposite way around. I've got Villa 7th. Again, Emery, like we said, fantastic manager. They've got Europe to think about, so potentially they might finish lower, and they've looked shaky. Obviously, hammered at St James's Park, hammered at Anfield. Two very tough places to go. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just think now that I've got them 7th, and this was based on how they looked under Emery last season, I think they've looked a bit off it and a few times this year. And like I say, they've got Europe to worry about. So, but pump Hibs, I'll take that though. They pumped Hibs. I don't care if they get relegated. They pumped Hibs 8-0. So that's all.
I know everyone says it, but I still find it funny that they've waited all this time for European football. Where did they go in Europe?
East Road.
Leith.
But like I say, I think Villa will be fine in the Conference League. Like I said, they'll get to latter stages. Emery knows how to win European trophies. Premier League, I've got them 7th, but I do think there will be a bit of worry there about, keeping their players fit because they've not got much depth. They've got Watkins, and then their second strikers, Bertrand Traore. They've got Diaby, and they've got Bailey. But again, there's no one really there that is strong enough, I would say, to replace either of them. McGinn is rapidly becoming, one of the most likeable players, and not only in the Premier League, but probably in the world. I love John McGinn. He's class for his team, he's class for his country, and he's just an example of he's went from being a brilliant player in an average Hibs team to being a brilliant player in a brilliant Villa team. And I think he'll be key to Villa's success if they can keep him fit and he can produce the type of performances he has been, and even that he does for Scotland. I think Villa will be okay. 6th, probably a surprising one, but I've gone Newcastle.
So I've got Chelsea 6th. Obviously, this was before the ball was kicked. I thought bringing...
I've got Chelsea 4th. So.
Which is that's even worse. I thought them bringing Poch in, that was the main reason I've put them 6th. Not because any of their signings. I couldn't care less about any of their signings. I couldn't name you 5 of their signings.
This Nicholas Jackson's a baller. I think he'll be good for them.
But this is the thing. Yeah. You say like these players are going to be good for them, yet they're sitting 12th.
Yeah, I know.
And they lost to Nottingham Forest. Like, if you was at home,
yes,
yeah, you should not be losing to Nottingham Forest.
That's a coup and miss if I've ever seen one.
It's a nightmare. Like, if Poch can't fix that Chelsea team, then you need to look at what their owners doing, or what's happening behind closed doors. There has to be another problem.
You don't expect a chairman or a chief executive person to go to a manager and say, fix this team. You're never going to expect him to do it overnight. He needs time. He's got the right, tactics, the right style of play to make any team perform. But I think, is it a case that all these new signings, like, their starting 11 these days is made up of like 7-8 signings that have only been at the club for a year. So it's a tough one with Chelsea because, like I say, under Lampard the first time they looked good. When Tuchel came in, the year they won the Champions League, they looked good.
Wait, did you say under Lampard?
The first time. Because Lampard got them top 4 and he did get them playing, but then obviously we know how Lampard was as a manager after that.
Yeah.
But Tuchel, again, potentially surprising, got them the Champions League win, which nobody expected, against City as well, but then just completely just fell apart.
I think Chelsea were too hard on Tuchel.
I thought it was unfair. I don't think he should have been sacked. But
he's better now.
That's where they started completely dropping, was when Tuchel went, because then
they brought in.
I can't remember who they brought in.
I think it was Potter after, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't, because I might be tripping here. Was it Gus Hiddink? They brought in somebody, or was that after Lampard? I can't remember.
No, I think it was. But it was Potter, and then, or was it Lampard then Potter?
Hold on, sorry, I'm googling this. I know we're not prepared, but I need to know. I need to remember. It's going to bug me.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Tuchel, then Potter, and then Lampard, and then.
You may be right.
Aye, surely.
Let me take a look.
Aye, well, the list is going to be massive. Of the manager.
Yeah, no, fair play. Shut up. Yeah, you're right. So it was Tuchel until September 22, and then Potter. So yeah, you're right. I don't know why I said Gus Hiddink. That must have been the year before. But yeah, that's when they completely fell apart. Was when Tuchel left. I don't think it was fair they sacked him, but Chelsea have just been the laughingstock of the Premier League the last couple of years.
One of the saddest things I saw was that Nkunku went to Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think Nkunku last year was amazing.
Yeah.
and the fact that he went to Chelsea, he's just got his form is just going to drop. Like I don't think he plays well in pre-season. Well, pre-season Chelsea looked all right, but they didn't look Chelsea level, or what they should be Chelsea level.
I think 6 for me, Newcastle, is maybe being generous. You look at them so far, they've had a Champions League draw of Dortmund, AC Milan, PSG.
It's the group of death.
That is the group you don't want in your first year back in Champions League. Now, don't get me wrong, the atmosphere at St James's Park will be unbelievable, and that will make some teams very, very, very...
It'll be what it
like
for Dortmund.
They'll be difficult to play against Newcastle.
Dortmund, I think, will be fine because obviously they've got the yellow wall. They've dealt with all the big crowds and all that. Like Dortmund are very prepared under a lot of pressure, whereas the other
they've got as good a team as they did either, Dortmund. So
they don't. So I feel like Newcastle could get a point against Dortmund at home, but Newcastle away to Dortmund, I don't think they will.
I don't think they'll get a point in any of their away games. Now, AC Milan potentially, but again, they were semi-finalists last season. But I think you look at them in the league, Newcastle pumped Villa, 5-1, and I was like, Newcastle look very strong.
Yeah.
Since then, have not won. And when I say they've not won, they've not picked up a point. Got beat off Brighton, they got beat off Liverpool, and they got beat off City. Now, fair play, City was only 1-0, and that was a very boring game.
That Liverpool game, they should have won.
Yeah, they were all over Liverpool.
They should have won. They were playing. They were actually playing very well. And
they were all over them.
Anthony Gordon actually played very well as well.
Yeah.
And
Alisson pulling off, I would say, honestly, the save of the season already. We're only 4 games in against Almiron.
And obviously, they were playing against 10 men as well because Van Dijk was sent off. And they should have been playing against 9 men because Trent should have got 2 yellow cards at least. So he should have been off the park.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of unfair for Newcastle, and then they just bottled it.
But fair play to Núñez, though. I think he's another definition of a dislikable character. I just think he's the way he is on the park. He's just a bit hot-headed, and I think his debut last year, headbutting somebody and getting sent off. I think he's got a lot to prove in a Liverpool shirt, and I think that one game against Newcastle will make his Liverpool career. He'll start getting games now because he never starts. He only gets 20 minutes. Started against Villa, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that, it sounds stupid, but obviously he was always in. He hit the post, he hit the bar, he's quick, he created loads of chances. I think that performance off the bench against Newcastle will make his Liverpool career, and I think he will become probably a very, very strong player in that Liverpool team. 5th, I think this one's going to rattle quite a few folk. I've gone Arsenal. Don't know why. I didn't rate their transfer business. Now, again, I'd done this before Declan Rice signed, but bringing in Havertz for the money they did, I think was ridiculous. And I think he's getting played back in midfield, which is his natural position, but I've not been impressed. Now, again,
did you see his miss against?
Completely missed the ball. It was United,
yeah, it was terrible. That is worse than Sunday League.
Yeah,
he is going to be one of the biggest flops of the season.
Yeah,
it's him and Mason Mount.
Yeah,
they're the 2 biggest flops.
Havertz wasn't worth the money Arsenal paid, and I just think Arsenal are known for being a very strong team for a year or 2 and then completely falling off. And it's been a pattern that when they've fallen off, it's when they've got Champions League. So I guess I've just kind of followed that theme. They've got Champions League. Fair enough, they've got a very, very, very good group, and they probably will get out of it. But I think that's going to play a part. Don't get me wrong, Saka, Jesus and Martinelli, Trossard obviously coming in, and Nketiah when he plays. It's a very strong front line.
It is very strong. But it's one of the better front lines in the league.
I'd say it's one of the strongest, but I just don't know what it is.
You just can't see them.
I just think they'll struggle. I think they'll struggle. I do, and I think.
But even in Champions League, Arsenal's group, I can't remember who they've got, but I don't think it's that hard of a group.
Lens. That's all I can remember. they've got Lens.
Group.
No.
Is it Benfica they've got?
Don't think so.
I can't remember.
I'm Googling it. Don't worry. I know we should be prepared, but
I don't think we're going to talk about this much Arsenal, to be fair. Arsenal and Chelsea I didn't prepare for.
Sevilla, PSV and Lens is Arsenal's group. So you think about it could have been Rangers, but no.
Arsenal, PSV. Arsenal should win that.
I think Arsenal should win all of them. Not every game, but they should beat PSV at home.
I don't think they Sevilla away, they'll lose. I
Nah,
think.
that'll be a tough game, but
Because
yeah.
Sevilla always win the Europa, and it's normally with Arsenal, isn't it?
I don't see Arsenal performing.
No.
You've got Newcastle fifth from what
Newcastle
I can see.
fifth. Obviously, we've talked about Newcastle.
Yeah. Fourth, obviously, again, being a pretty big topic of conversation, Chelsea. I've got fourth.
I've got Man United. All the podcasts or every prediction I saw before the season kicked off, a lot of people put Man United second. A lot of people have put Man United second. I'm pretty sure you've put them second as well. So I just don't see it. Pre-season, they were terrible. Onana, I don't like the look of.
I did at the start. I think how he was last year.
Last year,
wasn't when he signed, but I've been very, very, very disappointed by how he's been playing.
He's a completely different player to what Man United need. Like De Gea was what they had. It's what worked.
I think
yet they changed it.
See De Gea, he was a brilliant shot stopper, but terrible with the ball at his feet. Onana likes getting the ball at his feet and pinging passes about. I like that, but I just think he tries too hard and he's looked very shaky against Nottingham Forest.
Yes. Give me 1 second. I will. Apologies for this, people. And away you go.
Against Nottingham Forest, he's dived before the ball has even been kicked. And he's just looked... Like I said, I guess what I think is he's trying too hard to be the kind of goalkeeper people are expecting him to be. And I think he's disappointing a lot of people. Myself included. I have been disappointed with him, but... like I say, very early days, so I might be proved wrong.
I don't like him. The amount of cards he's getting, the mistakes he's making, I just don't think he fits. And obviously, I do think Man United will still finish fourth, even though they're playing shocking because they're 11th at the minute. They're just above Chelsea, but even with their defence has got worse because obviously they've got Martinez just went. He went off the pitch against Arsenal.
Supposedly injured. Varane's injured.
Lindelof went off.
I don't know if that was injured. People are saying...
he apparently he asked to come off.
Yeah, apparently they're saying he's got a knock. Yeah. Obviously Varane injured, Martinez injured, big money signing, big money Mace injured. Yeah.
So your partnership at the back.
Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire. Imagine, see if you'd said to me this time, when I don't know, Ten Hag first come in, if you'd said to me that we'd be finishing a game of football at the Emirates with Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire occupying the two centre-half spots, I'd have really worried about where the team was at that point. And we're probably stronger than last season, and we've got those two. Varane is expected. He's always bloody injured, Varane. But Martinez, he injures himself. He goes flying into stupid tackles and just picks up knocks. Stupid knock. He broke his foot last year because... he went in for a Raj tackle in Europa League. It was out for the rest of the season. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he's a good centre half when he just puts his mind to it and doesn't do stupid shit. But he's been very, very shaky, and I've not been very impressed. But it's third.
I've got Liverpool.
Fair play.
I still think Liverpool might finish third, even like seeing them after the 4 weeks. Obviously, they start Luis Diaz and Gakpo, which
man,
you just do not like anything to do with Gakpo.
I don't know what Gakpo has. I don't know what arrangement he has in place with Klopp, but it's like Klopp feels. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he didn't start against Villa at the weekend because I'm pretty sure it was Diaz, Salah, and Nunez that started as the front three, and Gakpo came on. But since he signed, Gakpo started pretty much every single game, and I've not yet to this day to wonder what he's actually done to deserve starting a game of football for Liverpool. But they've got a lot of options up there. Let's be honest.
Yeah, like they should be starting Nunez. I don't know why they don't. I don't know if it's like a fitness thing or they're worried he's going to get injured. But they should be starting. They should do Salah, Nunez, and then Diaz on the wing. That's what they should be doing, I think. Well, they can't now, but in the winter, they make a signing.
It's like a bloody zoo.
Right.
But Paul's doing that. Third.
Fuck off.
I have Manchester City.
The fact you've got City,
and I'll explain why. Now, again, this was done pretty much. It wasn't long after they lost Gundogan, they lost Mahrez, but you lose Gundogan, and they've brought in Kovacic. For me, stupid. Don't know why. They've brought in Josh Guardiol, or Josh, whatever his name is. They've brought in Guardiol, who, to be fair, is a good signing, and he will do very well for them. But I've just not been very impressed with them at all this season. They've got the results, they're unbeaten, but they struggled against, even though they won 3-0, they struggled against Burnley. Burnley made them work. They struggled against Newcastle, they only won 1-0. They looked very poor. Again, like I said, they didn't struggle in Sheffield United. They dominated the game, but very nearly only got a point. And, they beat Fulham at the Etihad, which was expected. But, yeah, to me, I'm just a bit... Yeah, I'm a bit
the fact,
apprehensive that they're gonna not bottle it as such. I just don't think they'll be as good, and I think they will fall off massively. And I do think they will finish Champions League, and they might win it. They'll probably win a trophy or two, but they will not win the league. And they're going for 4 in a row, so that might play a part as well.
I'll save my argument for when I get to City, because that will take me a while. What we're on? Was that your third?
Third. Second.
Aye.
Now, I'm not going to cheat, because initially I did swap my top. I swapped my top 2 now, but I feel like I've done it after the season started, so I'm going to do what I originally went for, and I'm going to get a lot of stick for it. But second, this is not so much, but I've gone Liverpool second. We've already went through Liverpool, so I think that's
and who's your first?
Who have you got second, Paul?
No. Who's your first?
I have United top, and I know people might be like, "Oh, he's a deluded Man United fan. He's only saying that because he's a
deluded Man United fan."
He's looking at the league through United tinted glasses, but I don't know. I seen us in pre-season. We looked good.
No, you never.
And towards the end of last season, we looked good. We're unbeaten at Old Trafford, and since the first game of last season, and I just think I was very, very, very confident going into the season that we would pull it out the bag. I'm impressed. I was impressed with the style of play that Ten Hag brought to us. And obviously we've got Garnacho up and coming, very, very good player.
Garnacho
obviously,
is very good.
Signed Mount, which stupidly I was quite excited about, but we'll just not go into it. And then also Onana, like we mentioned. Yeah. A good replacement for De Gea. Didn't think De Gea would leave. It was very surprising, I must say.
It is very surprising.
Didn't think he would. Still out of a club as well, which is probably just as surprising.
But I think he's too good to be a number 2.
I mean, yeah, I would say so. He needs to go to a team where he's going to get played. I mean, it sums United up that they won the Golden Glove last year, but in 2 games against Liverpool and City conceded 13 goals. The fact that they still got the Golden Glove with 17 clean sheets as well, by the way,
I don't understand.
Was crazy. But like I say, I'm not like I didn't want to say Liverpool's first, United second, because I changed it, and I've currently got it at that. But United, I had them initially first because, yeah, I was just very confident that we'd do well, because I feel like we'd improved every position. We needed a striker. We brought in Højlund, who did look very good when he came on against Arsenal. Also, Rashford's form last season, like I said, Garnacho, also Bruno, Casemiro, which was a fantastic signing. He's been class. Also, Varane and Martinez, a well-known partnership. Onana, which was the keeper we needed. I could go on, and I was just very, very confident that we would do the damage, but obviously
it's just injuries. Injuries will hold back
looking at
United.
us this season. Yeah, we're so bad for injuries that we've had to sign Reguilon on loan because both our left backs are injured. And Reguilon, very stupid signing, but I'm not going to shy away from the HUD United first, because I did, and it might come back and be one of the best predictions anyone will ever make. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, never.
But like I say, I didn't want to say I had Liverpool first when I first made the predictions. I didn't. So we'll not go any further about United. They're not going to win the league. They've looked very poor so far, but it might come back and completely change and flip on its head. But I'm not expecting it to.
So my second is the same as last year. Arsenal second, City first. Obviously, we are kind of biased. It seems biased because obviously United first and City first. But obviously, City, because we've talked about Arsenal, I'm just going to talk about City. City's my team. That's all I know.
They're plastic. That's all you need to know.
City, right, have just won the treble. their
No.
their main focus now has to be the league, because no one's done the quadruple. Like, no one has done it. Not even
What, 4 in a row?
sorry, 4 in a row. Yeah, like, no one has done 4 in a row. Not even Alex Ferguson United, and that is,
I think they got 3.
they got 3, and that was Alex Ferguson United was arguably one of the best teams of the Premier League, like the history of Premier League.
Yeah, I would say that,
And the fact that they didn't do 4 in a row, and City could, that will boost Man City's reputation of
they'll
Manchester
want
history.
to beat their rivals and
Like,
get 4
so,
in a row.
yeah, so the
100%.
league should be their main focus. Like, yeah, obviously another Champions League would be great, but the way Real Madrid are playing right now, I don't think, if we get drawn up against Real Madrid, which is most likely.
All the big teams are like getting weaker.
Well, if we play Inter Milan again, I don't think, or Roma even. Roma aren't in the Champions League, are they?
No.
No, they're not. I'll shut up. But anyway, if we get against Inter Milan again, I think we could struggle.
For me, I think the only team you really have to worry about would be Bayern.
Bayern and Real Madrid.
I would say Real Madrid. They've lost Benzema. They've lost goals.
Have you been
Fair, they've signed
watching?
Bellingham actually. Yeah,
Bellingham
okay,
has got 4 man of the matches in 4 games, and
He's
has
scored 5 goals or something as well. Is he not
something
bagged them?
ridiculous from midfield, and
Yeah.
he is younger than us.
Bellingham
He's a teenager,
is, yeah. Nah.
and he's the leader of.
So who's playing up front for Madrid then?
Couldn't tell. But the fact that I can't even tell you their striker yet, I still think they're going to. They're still the best team in Europe at the minute, is telling you something, because they've got Vinny. The amount of players they've got injured. at the
they've
minute
got
as well.
the mighty Hosselu.
No, but the players that they've got injured right now are some of the best players they've got,
Yeah, I know.
and when they come back, they're going to be even better than ever.
Yeah, that would
So
be.
it's just scary, but like, this is why City need to focus on the league.
I'm pretty sure I've seen somewhere actually. I think it was Mark Goldbridge. And I know it's off topic, but just because obviously we're talking about rogue predictions, Mark Goldbridge said that United's going to win the Champions League. And you look at their group, and you can see them getting out their group stages,
No,
and you
that's-
never know if they top the group. I'm not saying this because I think they're going to win it, but obviously Chelsea won it. That's all I'm saying. Chelsea won the Champions League against all odds. So why can't the likes of United or Arsenal do it
Against
as well?
all odds.
Nobody. Who expected Thomas Tuchel to come in and win Chelsea the Champions League? No one.
Right, but you can't say Chelsea are like an underdog for when it comes
At
to the
that
Champions League.
specific point, though, because they were playing against Pep's Man City. They had an awful run. I'm pretty sure they
but
they beat Madrid that year as well. One of the best teams in Europe. No one expected them to win it that year, but they did.
Yeah, but that was Chelsea were still good. They're not 12 Chelsea, but like United, that's the worst prediction.
Yeah, that's worse than them winning the league.
Yeah, no, it fully is. United are not getting anywhere near a final or semi-final or
At least we won a
quarter-final.
trophy last year. We've not won a trophy in too long. So at least we won one last year. But what I'll do is, I know we've kind of went through the positions quite quickly, and we've got all the predictions here in front of us. So what I'll do is I'll put mine and Paul's predictions on the screen from 1st to 20th, so you can see where we're at with that. Obviously, we'll quickly and briefly go through our Scottish Premiership. We'll not go into as much detail because, again, there's only going to be one outcome for me. But we'll just go through the notable positions. I think getting relegated, and we both agree with this, will be St Johnstone.
St Johnstone's
They have
getting
looked
relegated, yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
St Johnstone are shit.
They're favourites to go down.
I think it's between them and Dundee. I've got Dundee 11th.
Well, I've got Ross County 11th, and
Also,
then
Dundee team swapped. Dundee United went down. Dundee came up last year. Ross County beat Partick Thistle in the playoffs to stay in the league. So there's only been one team different. But you know, I know a St Johnstone fan, and he tries to make them sound unbelievable at every possible opportunity he gets. But they're a championship side at best. They've got a championship manager, and I think this year again it's strange though because double cup winners 2 or 3 years ago won the League Cup and the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
Beat Celtic, or no, was it Rangers? But they beat one of the Old Firm to get to the final, and then they beat Hibs in the final. That's 2 difficult games, and they've won it. And now they've went from that to getting relegated.
Yeah.
So, well, not confirmed, but I think they will get relegated.
Well,
So Dundee 11th.
Yeah.
I've got the wee team 8th. I've got Hibs 8th. I think they'll... and I think they're... Their league form. It's taken them until Sunday there to win their first game of the season. They got beat off. Bear with me. St Mirren, Livingston, and I'll try to look at my predictions.
Very prepared.
Kilmarnock? Correct me if I'm wrong. Motherwell. There we go, Motherwell. Motherwell, St Mirren and Livingston. They got beat off all three and then beat Aberdeen, to be fair, at Aberdeen.
That's
a very,
a big
very
game
good
to
result. Big result. But obviously just lost Lee Johnson. I think they're bringing in some A-League manager, can't remember his name, but
Better than what Hearts
could turn them round. But Hibs are going to struggle this season. I've got Aberdeen 4th, but again, the way they're playing, that could potentially be very generous. You've got Hibs 4th. Wow.
I've got Hibs 4th. I've got Aberdeen 5th. And then, this is the thing, what I was saying earlier is that 3rd, 4th and 5th, they can all chop and change. Obviously, Hibs and Aberdeen are doing not too good this season because they're both, near the bottom half, or they're in the bottom half, sorry. But I honestly think, because Aberdeen last season, the end of the last season, they were
Aberdeen
terrible.
No, the end of the season, they turned it round. They were shit hot. But
they were terrible.
They had the lesser teams, so they maybe looked a bit better than they did. But Aberdeen obviously finished 3rd last year. They're in Europe. They'd done what Hearts done the year before.
Yeah.
But I mean, so Scottish football, you're always going to get Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen somewhere in the top half.
Yeah, that's
I just want to quickly comment how much Scottish football has changed in the last year or so. The current top 5 is Celtic, Motherwell, St Mirren, Rangers, Ross County. That's the current top 5. Motherwell 2nd, St Mirren 3rd, Ross County 5th. And you've got Hearts 8th at the moment. I've got Hearts 3rd for this season. Now again, this was before any form of football was played. And Hearts did look very good first game of the season. They looked very good against Rosenborg when they beat them in Europe.
Yeah.
Things have went tits up since then. And we're currently sitting 8th. I mean, I think a lot of people are... I think there's a mixed bag about the whole Naismith McAvoy situation. Also, it's just been confirmed that Naismith's now the first team coach. But
I'm not happy about.
And
I know a lot of other people aren't happy with, because he's been coaching for the start of the season and they haven't been given convincing results, yet they've made him head coach. I just don't see the sense in it.
It's all a bit... Yeah, Ross, like I say, St Johnstone first game of the season, we looked very good, 2-0 win. Then a 0-0 draw with Ross County. 2 games in, 0 goals conceded, 4 points, sitting 3rd, opportunity to go top. The week after, we lose to Dundee away. We then lose to Motherwell at the weekend. There 2 back-to-back 1-0 defeats. 2 back-to-back shocking performances. It took us until the 80th. No, we got beat off. It was Dundee, and it was Motherwell at the weekend.
I thought it was St Mirren because they scored the far out goal.
That was Dundee.
Was it Dundee?
Yeah, St Mirren, yeah.
My head's frazzled. I do apologise.
Hearts, I think it's another Craig Levein situation. We've lost a manager. Both times, obviously, Robbie Nielsen, we've just went, let's go with somebody that's already associated. Obviously, Craig Levein was the executive or the director of football. Fair enough, did a good job. Got us a cup final, League Cup final, done alright in the league, but ended up just being a shit show. And then Naismith, the B team manager, now the first team manager. I don't agree with it. Things need to change at Hearts.
I say get Anne Budge on the sideline. She'll take us to glory.
Yeah, no, it's...
I do have Hearts 3rd. And I do think they will finish.
I think
because I think they'll regain their very they'll regain.
We just can't rely on Lawrence Shankland. We rely heavily on him. I think the fact that, and it shows back, he got us the shot on target against Motherwell on Sunday because he was marked out the game for the full 90 minutes. We've got Boyce back, massive boost. Also losing Ginnelly, which was shocking.
Loss.
He's went. Obviously to this English Championship, which is
he was tearing it up in there.
He was class. He was the reason. Him and Shankland together were class.
Yeah.
Obviously, like losing Gordon, brought in a few average players. Also, we brought in that Oda towards the middle of last season. He had a lot.
Oda's looking good.
He's
looking good.
Yeah, he's looked alright. Obviously, we lost that cool old boy from Newcastle. Don't know why we signed him. He wasn't much of. He's not much of a loss anyway. But I think Hearts just need to pick it up massively. I think if we keep going the way we're going, we potentially could be, a bottom half team, but we've like say outside the Old Firm we have the strongest team. The fact we've got the strongest team and we're sitting 8th, things need to massively change, and that for me starts from the whole Naismith McAvoy situation needing to change. Get a known manager in who knows how to win games, who's got a bit of experience, and not just the first person that we set eyes on. Somebody associated with the club. Get somebody out with the club.
Yeah.
Somebody that's like I say got a bit of experience.
Yeah.
And like every time Huddersfield Match goes, let's get McInnes in, let's get Robinson in. Why should we go for somebody that's doing well for their team? Go for somebody who's not associated with Scottish football and get a fresh outtake.
We
because
tried
Hearts need to massively step up.
We tried to get that boy from was it Copenhagen?
Yeah.
And then he just didn't want to leave because he was doing well with Copenhagen. And at the time that we were trying to sign him, it was only halfway through their season, so we couldn't really do anything. And once that fell through, I just think Hearts just gave up. I was like, yeah, Naismith, just carry on what you're doing.
I mean,
but
the fact that I think the most important thing for me is it's not the current manager situation. It's literally we were 11 points, maybe even 13 points at one point, clear in 3rd place in January, February time this year. We finished 4th.
Yeah.
We finished 4th. Behind Aberdeen, who were the team that were 13 points behind us. Hibs finished a point behind us when we were about 20 odd points clear of them at one point. It was such a bad end to the season for Hearts, and I'm hoping this year's going to be different, but the way things are going, I think it's looking very, 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 very bleak.
I think we'll have a good cup run because we've got Kilmarnock next, and they obviously knocked Celtic out. So the fact that Celtic are out of the picture, it gave a lot of the smaller teams. Celtic out of the cup is good for Scottish football in general.
I'm liking the fact that St Mirren and Motherwell are coming into, and even Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
Like you say, Kilmarnock's a tough place to go. They've got the plastic pitch, which is shit to play on. But I agree. I think with Celtic out of the cup, it's anyone's. Anyone in that bracket that's left can easily win that. I'm hoping Hearts, but
yeah, I could do another cup win.
I think we should say that's our focus, but I think we need to kind of keep in mind that this is probably our best chance to win a trophy with the best team in Scotland out.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers are still in it, but I'm not being very impressed there, and that will get to the top two. Top two, also occupied by the Old Firm. We've just had an Old Firm derby, which, if I was a Rangers fan, I would be raging knowing that we're sat here just having lost that Old Firm. Never a foul on the boy that's intercepted. Well, never a foul. Rangers dominated the game. I'm pretty sure when I watched it, Celtic scored pretty much with their only decent chance, only shot on target. Butland's made a decent save midway through the second half, but I tipped Rangers for the league at the start of the season, but I've been very, again, and it's like I've said a lot, very disappointed in how they've played. I've gone Celtic to win the league again, Rangers to come second, but I think it'll be closer this year than what it has been in previous years, but we'll see. So that pretty much obviously concludes Premiership football, like leagues. We'll now move on to, obviously mentioned at the start, an international break, so we'll move on to international football. Normally we're sat here depressed, being a Scottish fan, but right now we're potentially a game away from securing another European qualifier, and I'll explain.
I think it's guaranteed now.
I'll explain. So I've got a thing here. Scotland can qualify for Euro 2024 next Tuesday if Steve Clarke's men do the business in Cyprus on Friday, and one of the following happenings. So I'm assuming I don't know what the fixtures are, but if Spain win away to Georgia, or Norway and Georgia draw, or if Spain and Georgia draw, Norway and Georgia draw, and Cyprus take at least a point off Spain. And I know that sounds confusing, but all you need to know is it's basically how us qualifying comes down to Georgia and Spain results, basically. We beat Georgia, absolute shite bags at Hampden, didn't want to play because a bit of water. We've looked unbelievable. I know we've not got the best group, but 2-0 against Spain at Hampden. 10 years ago, that was never happening. Scott McTominay is honestly brilliant. John McGinn, brilliant. Dykes, he's not done much, but he's massive to Scotland. I'm so glad he chose Scotland. He's unbelievable. Yeah. Robbo, obviously Andy Robertson, class. Kieran Tierney, centre half coming into his own, and Hickey, by the way, as well.
Aaron Hickey is. I'm sad he's not at Hearts anymore, but I think it's a good thing he's not at Hearts.
And I hate to say these words, and I'm sure you'll hate to say it as well, but Ryan Porteous for Scotland has been unbelievable.
Yeah, he's the main centre back.
Not just saying I hated him because he was at Hibs. That was one of the reasons. He was just very careless.
Yeah,
is the word. He'd fly the tackles. He'd focus too much on.
Apologies.
He'd focus too much on trying to make a hard tackle and becoming the hard man. But I think he knows now he's playing for his national team. Now he's got to move down south. He's matured a lot and he's becoming rapidly one of the best centre halves in that Scotland team.
Yeah.
And it's just mental to know that we've not qualified for a major tournament in so long.
No, well, we qualified for the last year.
No, that's what I mean, but we're about to qualify for back-to-back European Championships. It's crazy. Now, obviously, we went through the playoffs last time, and at that point, the Scotland team was very different. But
I'm very confident we're getting straight.
From what I hear, though, and I mean, I'm not that disappointed by it, but that Elliot Anderson supposedly not chose Scotland now. I read it. He's withdrawn from the camp due to an apparent injury, but there's been no reports on the injury, and apparently it's circling around that he's not actually wanting trips in Scotland anymore. Now, I might be miles off for that, but that's what I've heard. I've not seen enough of him, to be honest, to say if he's worth it. But my first choice midfield for me would be Gilmore, McTominay, and McGinn. That'd be my middle three. Obviously, Che Adams again. I'm so glad he chose Scotland.
Well, McGregor.
Nah,
Did you have McGinn over McGregor?
It depends, because I think Clark's been playing McGinn in more of a centre forward stroke winger role. I would have McGregor in there, but if we were just playing a middle three and he wasn't playing McGinn as one of the front three, I'd have McGinn, Gilmore, and McTominay. But he's obviously going with the three at the back. So for me, it's Gunn, it's Porteous, it's Tierney, it's Jack Hendry, Aaron Hickey, and Robertson is the back five. Strongest back five Scotland have, and I don't know how anyone say differently. If he is going with this 3-5 or 3-2, whatever it is, he plays the wingers, it would be McGregor, Gilmore with McTominay just in front, and then McGinn, Adams, Dykes. Wait, is that 20 players? I think it might be. Wait, 3-2-3.
It'd be 5-2-3.
So you would need to. Well, there we go then. So I would keep Dykes then, drop Adams. Sorry, but yeah, a midfield of McGinn, McTominay, Gilmore with Dykes and McGinn. I just think Scotland they've just massively evolved from nowhere. We last lost a game when we got beat off Republic of Ireland in the Nations League, and it's like, well, then finished top of our Nations League group. We were a game away from a World Cup, which we bottled. We then finished top of our Nations League group, and now we're top of our Europa League group, having only conceded, one goal?
Something
ridiculous
on Scotland standards.
3-0 against Cyprus, 2-0 against Spain, and then it was 2-1 against Norway, 2-0 against Georgia. It's mental. Also, we're playing England next week as well. So
stats-wise, we are the best team in Europe.
Yeah, it's mental, and it's class. You know, like I said, being a Scotland fan, and I'm sure every Scots person out there will agree that being a Scotland fan, especially over the last... Since I've been alive, for example, 2000, I don't remember a lot of games, obviously, but specifically since, obviously, like the Gordon Strachan era, it's been so depressing being a Scotland fan. You're losing game after game. You're coming second bottom of your group. You've got a win in your hands, and then we bottle it and either lose or draw. A game that will always stand out for me under the Strachan era was that England game at Hampden when Griffiths scored those 2-3 free kicks.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had the game in our hands, 2-1 up, with literally added time to go, playing so well, and then Stuart Armstrong plays the wrong pass, and then England go and equalise. And potentially, I know it may be a bit dramatic, but had that not happened, we could have been to that World Cup. But
I want to see what happens when we play England.
I think it'll be a good game
next week.
Because obviously last time we played them, we drew 0-0. The time before that, we drew 2-2. So we're unbeaten in 2 games.
Well, if Gareth Southgate plays who I think he's going to, like Pickford in goals, Maguire at the back.
It's a friendly though, so I can't.
He's not going to look Shaw.
He'll go. I think he'll go more for people getting caps, but he might go a bit experienced. But it's a friendly. It's a nothing game. It's against Scotland, but I can't see him going strong.
See if we do win, right? They're all going to say it's a friendly.
Yeah, no.
They're all going to say
it doesn't count.
And if we win, we're all going to go mental.
I'll tell you one thing. No matter if you're a Scotland fan or not, Scotland-England games, the atmosphere at Hampden is probably one of the best atmospheres you'll get in world football. I mean, I was at the Georgia game, and I know it was Georgia. It was literally like we were already qualified with the way the fans were. There's just such a buzz, and there's such an excitement going about Scotland right now, and potentially 1 or 2 wins away from another European Championship. To see Scotland go to a European Championship again would just be unreal. And
I would
like
love
I
to see
say,
it.
we could be sitting here potentially this time next year having been to Germany, but yeah, like I
And
say,
having the European Cup in the background. That'd be amazing.
like I say, it's class. Being a Scotland fan then, it was class. And it's
Yeah,
not something
it's
I would
good.
ever thought I'd have said if you'd said this to me this time 3-4 years ago. But obviously, Steve Clarke has massively turned it round, and Scotland is just a very, very, very exciting place to be with how the football team's going. So, yeah, no buzzing. So I think that pretty much concludes this. Obviously, hopefully going to try and aim for weekly uploads, try and get kind of a breakdown of all the results.
Hopefully.
It's been good to be back. It's been a while, and I'm sure Paul will agree that
We've missed it.
Yeah,
We are the most inconsistent podcast on YouTube.
might change the name. We never know. But
Might.
obviously, if you have enjoyed, please do leave a like and subscribe if you have, liked the content and you want to see more. Like I said, we are aiming for weekly uploads. So that's obviously what we're trying to aim for. Whether it will happen or not, we don't know, but we'll see. But obviously, it's been good to be back. And like I say, if you have enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. And hopefully, we will see you again next week if we upload in time. So thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon.
next time.
Cheers.